Microsoft Teams webinar. I'm Erin. I'm the marketing manager at Marquee 360, and I'm going to kick things off for us. So the agenda for today, I'm going to give you guys a quick overview about Marquee 360. Then I'm going to introduce some other speakers that we have for you today. And then we're going to talk about Microsoft Teams, why we're here, why we're talking about it, why we want to run our projects in Teams. And then we're going to get into the demo. And then at the end, we're going to have time for some questions. Throughout the demo or the presentation, if you guys have questions at any time, please feel free to unmute and ask your questions, or you can type them in the chat, and someone from our team will answer those questions for you.
Words, racist roadways, back in April. So it's not us putting words in his mouth, but now he's furthered the narrative.
So a little bit about Marquee 360. We are a Microsoft Gold Partner for cloud productivity, project and portfolio management, and collaboration. We have locations in the United States, Canada, and Europe. We focus on digital transformation using Microsoft 365. So any of the Microsoft Work Management, the Power Platform, Microsoft Teams, our team is very familiar with all of those solutions. And what we like to do is any manual processes that you have, we use those technologies to bring some automation and productivity to your team and create a seamless solution. So you're not jumping from platform to platform, you're just working in one centralized location. Our company was founded by former Microsoft employees, or most of our workforce has worked with Microsoft projects for 20 years or more. So we're very close with the Microsoft product team. Any innovations or changes coming up in the future roadmap, we know so that we can make ourselves ready for those and our customers. And at Marquee 360, our main focus is to be a partner for our customers. We don't just say, oh, the solution is for you, implement it, and then we're gone. We like to really work with your environment, see how you work, and recommend which products would be best for you, and then work with you through the implementation. And then afterwards, we're also available for any change management, adoption, help that you might need. And our speakers today, we have on Leandro. Leandro, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, how's everyone doing? My name is Leandro Petronio. I'm actually the project specialist for Microsoft. I cover the Northeast. I've been with Microsoft for a little over 8 years now, but with the project piece specifically, it's been about 8 months. So a little bit newer to the projects, but it's growing and it's continuing to grow. So it's exciting to be working with it.
Awesome. Thanks, Leandro. We also have on Mia. She is going to take us through a technical demo. Mia, you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. I'm a solutions architect with Marquee 360, and like Erin said, I'll be walking through the demo today.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. And I'm going to pass it over to Leandro.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Yeah, so today we're going to be talking a little bit about how the collaboration between Teams and Project Online, we could bridge that gap. So as most of you are probably aware, obviously Project Online is one of our solutions for projects and Project for the Web, which has been out for roughly about 2 years, which is built on the Power Platform. If you've used Project for the Web at all, you know that you have the ability to collaborate now and make some changes and do some really cool things through Teams on its own. But Project Online has a little bit of a gap on how we can collaborate with Teams. And thanks to, due to COVID, obviously, most of us are pretty familiar with Microsoft Teams, right, for collaboration and connecting with our teams and things like that. So what we're going to see today and what Mia is going to showcase and what Marquee 360, the solution that they built is around the, Power Automate and Power Apps and bringing together Project Online and Microsoft Teams to be able to collaborate with our teams, right? To make everything a little bit more seamless, especially when we're focusing on some of those high level projects where, there's still a little bit of a gap between Project for the Web and Project Online. And the one thing that Project Online does really well, and some of the things that it doesn't is the collaboration piece. So we're bringing that together, and I'm going to let Mia discuss it or go into it actually further. So without further ado, I'll turn this over to Mia and have her go through the demo for us.
Thanks, Erin and Leandro. So as Leandro mentioned, what we're going to focus on today is syncing together Project Online and Project for the Web with Microsoft Teams. We also have Planner included in that sync, and our goal here is to help the team collaborate and work better together. So one of the reasons why we sync with Microsoft Teams is because it's a great place for teams to get together and collaborate. There are multiple methods that we can collaborate with in Teams. And then we can also use the integration created by Marquee 360 to help manage our projects in Teams as well. So it helps to have things in as more set up as more of a one-stop shop where we have access to all of our different projects in one place, and we can do things like update our tasks, update our schedules, and then modify some of our project artifacts like issues and risks. So that's what we'll be taking a look at today. I'm going to start us out. Thanks for updating that slide. I'm going to start sharing. And then what I'll do is I'll take you through our process. I'll show you how we set up the Teams integration. And what we'll do from there is look at how we can make updates and collaborate on those teams together. So I'm starting out here on the Project Online homepage. If you're using Project Online already, this might look a little bit different than your homepage. These are configurable, as you may know. So this is our demo version of the Project Online homepage. Even if it looks a little bit different, the main components are still the same. We've got the logo that reloads the homepage here, the quick launch list of links over here on the left side, and in the main content area, different tiles and a list of the project sites. What we're going to do is we're going to start at the beginning of the project lifecycle. We're going to create an intake request. Using that intake request, we're able to define whether we're going to create a Project Online project or a Project for the Web project. So we're going to talk a little bit about both scenarios, and then with both of those project types, what we'll do is we'll show how we would work with those project types in Microsoft Teams. So let's get started with creating an intake request. So this is Intake 360. This is our intake application. What we're seeing here is the gallery with the existing requests listed. Okay. What we're going to do is create a new project request, and we'll start to fill out this form. So we're going to give this a name. This will eventually become the project name, and that will eventually become the name of the team that we see in Microsoft Teams. There is an approval process that goes along with this. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and set myself as the approver. Another really important field on this intake request is the request type. And here's where we can specify the project type that will be created. Some of the project types that we see here are linked to Project for the Web projects. Some of the project types that we see here are linked to Project Online projects. So what I'm going to do, I already have a Project for the Web project that's set up. I'm going to go ahead and select a Project Online project. I'll walk you through the process there, and then we'll circle back and we'll take a look at how the Project for the Web projects look in Microsoft Teams. I'm going to fill in some of the fields here just because these carry over to the project, so that's sometimes helpful. But I won't take your time by entering too many details here. So as we're filling this out, we'll see that a lot of this information that I'm filling in here could carry over into the project, so that makes it really important. But again, these forms, the intake form, varies greatly. We can set this up and configure it based on the needs of your organization. There's a scoring part of this also that we can use to define or to help figure out which intake request we'll move forward with. So I'm going to quickly fill that out. And then, of course, I can attach documents here as well. What I'm going to do next is go ahead and submit this request. And what we've just done is we've submitted an intake form request. This is a request to start a new project. And in this scenario, what we've chosen or what we've requested was to create a Project Online project. So again, looking at this request, This request type is what we use to define whether this will be a project online project or a project for the web project. And we'll look at both examples in Microsoft Teams as we move forward. All right, so as I've submitted this intake form or this intake request, one of the things that we'll start to see is that a request for approval has been sent. So in my inbox here, we're seeing that request for approval. There's a link back to the intake request, and there's also some of the information from the fields that I entered in on the intake request. I'm going to go ahead and approve this. Submitting this approval is what's going to create our project in Project Online. So all of these steps that we've talked about so far, the different fields that we're seeing on the intake form, even the fields that we're seeing here in the gallery and the approval process overall, all of that is something that is configurable. Looking at the request status column here, I can see that a project was created based on me just approving the creation of that project in the email. So what I'm going to do now is move over to the Project Center, and we'll get a look at that project. So we've got our webinar project here. I'm going to click on the project name to open it. This, for anybody that's not familiar, the Project Center is where all of the projects live. In the Project Center, you can do different things or view the projects in different ways by updating your views here. Right now, I have all the projects grouped by type. And then to open a project and begin working on it, what I'll do is just click on the project name. So from here, what we're seeing is this project that we've just created. This project that I created happens to have a couple of things associated with it. One of them is a workflow, and that's why we're seeing the workflow stage status page here when we first look at the project. There are also different pages of this project, and these pages have different required fields. Some of the information that we filled in on the intake request will display here as well. One of the most important fields for this topic that we're discussing today is this one, the Microsoft Teams and Planner integration field. Using this field, we can choose at the project level which projects will be synced with Microsoft Teams and Planner. So you can see that in our demo environment, we have this automatically set to yes. So we're already starting to create a team that will represent this project. And we'll be able to see that when we go over to Teams in a few minutes. What I'll do now is move on to one of the other pages of this project. Again, we'll see a lot of the information that I entered in on the request transferring over to the project. There are also some new fields that we didn't see on the request form here too. So as we start to have this become a project, we might have different fields that we need to collect. And these could be currency fields, they could be calculated fields like the ROI value here, and then of course our status indicator fields too if we track the KPI status. What we'll do next is we'll move on to the schedule. And on the project information page, we looked at that Microsoft Teams and Planner integration field. Remember, that's where we chose at the project level to sync this project with Microsoft Teams. What we're going to do now, as we start to look at this project schedule, is start to look at which individual tasks we want to sync with Teams and Planner. So to do this, what we're going to do is we'll first start to make a couple of task assignments. You can see that this project was created along with a schedule template. So we already have a schedule here, we've got tasks, and we've got generic resources assigned to those tasks. So what I'm going to do is start to add some named resources to this project. You may already know this, but for anybody who's not aware, before I can assign resources to tasks, I first need to build my project team. So I'm going to click on Build Team. I'm going to do a couple of quick replacements here. So I'll replace the PMO generic resource with Aaron. I'll replace the project manager with myself. And then some of these resources, I think I'll leave here and then I'll just change the assignments. So now I've added Erin and myself to this team. I'm going to save and close. Now that I've added named resources to this project team, I can go ahead and start to assign these resources to tasks. Because I used that replace feature, you can see that Erin is already assigned to these first 2 tasks, and I'm already assigned to the next 3 tasks here. What I'll do next is start to move forward through these different columns. So in addition to choosing at the project level that we want to sync this project with Teams and Planner, what I want to do next is choose at the task level which tasks I want to sync with Planner. So you can see there's a Planner sync column here, and this is a simple yes/no. For any task that's assigned to a named resource, I can choose to sync that over with Teams and Planner. The Planner bucket we'll get to see when we go over to Teams. These Planner buckets here in this demo environment are set to list out sprints, but this is something that varies greatly among different organizations that we work with. So sometimes people will use workflow phases like initiation, planning, executing, and closing. Sometimes people will use other fields just to mark if something's on hold or something like that. But the Planner buckets are something that's completely defined by you as an organization, and something that we would set up based on that. What happens with these tasks that I'm creating a Planner task for is that each task will have its own Planner card. There is a third Planner sync related column here called Separate Planner Tasks. And what that will do is if I have more than one resource assigned to a Planner task, it'll give us each a separate card. When we go over to Teams, I'll be able to show you a little bit better how that actually appears. But for now, let's just note that, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. We have a question. Will set deadlines show up in your Outlook agenda?
So the deadlines that you set as part of the task attributes.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes.
Oh, okay. So those won't necessarily show as the deadline, but you could sync over a related task with Teams and Planner to track it there. But the indicator that you would typically get when that deadline is passed, that type of indicator won't display as part of the Teams integration.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Thanks for jumping in with the question, Erin, and please continue to do that. I don't see those questions coming through right away all the time. So what we've done so far, just a quick recap. We started with the intake, we created this project online project, and in that project, we updated some of the project details. We assigned a couple of tasks. We chose to sync tasks with Planner, and then we chose a Planner bucket for those tasks. At the project level and now at the task level, we've chosen to sync with Microsoft Teams and Planner. To actually sync this information, what I'm going to do is publish the project. And this will start to create these tasks as Planner tasks that we'll view in Teams in a few minutes. At this point, does anybody have any questions about what we've done so far? Okay, if that changes, feel free to jump in. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go over to the project site and start to update some of the project artifacts that we'll see in Teams as well. Once I do that, then we'll head over to Teams and take a look at this project there. So the project site is accessible from within the project. Similar to what I mentioned on the project homepage about having a different look and feel in this environment, if you're using Project Online already, your project site likely looks a little bit different than this. But again, this is our demo version of the project site. And some of what we've got here are issues, risks, action items, change requests, and a project notebook. You'll see along the left side there are other lists here as well. So we've got a list for requirements, for test cases, and we can track all of those documents here. Or all of those items here. Lessons learned is also included. Any one of these lists can be included as part of the Teams integration. So we would see this list as a team in Microsoft Teams. What I'd like to quickly do is kind of show you some of the areas that are synced with Teams in our demo environment. So as we scroll down on this version of the project site, I can see a couple of things high level. I can see the issues that exist already. I can see that there are some risks as well. And I can see that there are some documents. What I'm going to try to do quickly is add in a new issue and risk. And then I also want to upload a document. I'm going to upload a document from here. This demo environment is set up to already include some issues and risks and documents. So you'll see these here in this environment, even though I haven't added a lot, just so that you don't have to sit and watch me add in a lot of new items. But I do want to add at least one. So what we'll do first is we'll go ahead and add a new issue. Okay, we can assign these. We can have an owner for them as well. I'm not going to fill out too much here. I just want to get a new item listed. So I'll go ahead and save this. And when we look at our issues list here, we'll see that new issue listed. So a lot of these items from the project site, like I mentioned, can carry over into Teams and display there too. So that's part of what we'll look at when we go over to Teams in just a few minutes. I'll go back over to the home page. What we have set up in our demo environment will be the issues and the risks and the documents to automatically display in Teams. So we'll be able to take a look at that. And then remember that in the future, if you're using any of these other lists like action items or change requests, those could show up in Teams as well. What's great about that is that it gives everybody on the team an option. We can update these items in the browser, especially if we're already in the browser. But since we're spending so much in Teams, we now have access to these items through Teams as well. So what I'll do next is I'll start to close this project and we'll head over to Teams and actually look at how we can make project updates there.
Mia, we do have a couple questions. Can you set access level to the different parts?
Ooh, that's a good question and something that I neglected to mention so far. Part of what will happen with access is that we have different security groups that are set up in Project Online. So we have, team members, project managers, administrators. That partially defines what you'll see in Project Online, right? But then as we start to assign resources to tasks, let's say that Erin's a team member and let's say that I'm a project manager. Those same permissions will carry over into Teams as well. Also, anybody that I add to my project team and start to assign to tasks, they'll be able to access the team as well. And I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with Teams or how familiar everybody is with Teams already, but it is possible to add people to your team and things like that. You can manage a team and then add people. What we're doing here as part of this sync is that we're automatically syncing these resources over with the team in Microsoft Teams. Does that help to answer your question, or is there more to the question that I didn't get to?
No, that answers my question. Thank you.
Sure.
Mia, we also have another one.
Okay.
How about dependencies pictorial view?
So the dependencies view, are you talking about the dependencies that we would look at in Project for the Web? I know it might be a little bit difficult if I ask a question back. Okay, we'll get to look at that a little bit better. We still do have the Project for the Web project that we'll look at in Teams, and there we'll get to see the view where you can nicely set up the dependencies with the drag and drop. So we'll take a look at that. And then for the Project Online projects, we can have our dependencies here, and we'll also be able to view this in the schedule as well.
Thanks, Mia.
Sure. All right, so without further ado, let's go over to Microsoft Teams, and we'll take a look at our projects there. So just in case anybody's not familiar with Teams, I do just want to give a quick bit of background background. At this point, I know a lot of you are probably using Teams already, but sometimes we have a couple people that join these that aren't terribly familiar yet. So in Microsoft Teams, and I'm using the desktop application of Teams, there are a couple of things that we'll just talk about as far as navigation goes. There's a menu over here on the far left that will give us access to different areas. So for example, looking at the activity, I can see some of the things that have happened. So I can see that I was added to a new project, the webinar project, the one that we created together today. And this is an interactive item. So what I can do is I can actually click on here to have that part show in the main content area. You can also see some of my other chat and the things like that there too. The chat that we all use pretty frequently is here in Teams as well, or on this left menu. And the list of teams is here listed under Teams. Here what we'll see are the teams that I belong to. These could be teams that somebody created within Teams, so I can join or create a team from here. And then also if somebody's added me to a team because it was synced over from Project Online, I'll see those listed here as well. And then some of the other things that we're used to in Teams already, the calendar is accessible from here, phone calls where I can listen to messages and things like that are here, files that include my OneDrive are here. And then I also like to use this task by To Do in Planner, which we'll come back and take a look at a little bit later on. For now, what we'll do is we'll take a look at my teams. So these are teams that I've been added to that represent Project Online or Project for the Web projects. Each project or each team is automatically created with the general channel. And what we do as part of our integration is we take advantage of that and we essentially build onto the general channel. So first thing I'd like you to notice is that the team name here matches the project name. So that helps to kind of keep everything linked together and find what you're looking for, especially when you get added to a new project. On the general channel here, we'll see a couple of things. The first thing that we'll see is what we see on every general channel, the Posts tab, the Files tab, and the Wiki tab. The Files and Wiki tab, we don't interact with much. We essentially leave those in their default state. But what we do is we will interact a little bit with the Posts tab. And part of what I'll show you here is that on the Posts tab, we've got our typical part at the beginning where we can add more people, we can create channels if we want to, but what we add to this is a mini status report. What you can use this for is just a quick way to have the team in the loop as far as where we are with the project. So you can see some high-level information here, including the KPI status indicators. So everybody on the team can view this. For people with Power BI licenses, there is a link to the Power BI project status report. And then for everybody else, you can just view the high-level information. A lot of the things that we do in Teams already, we can still do in the Post tab. So we don't take away any of that functionality with our team integration. We can still, communicate with our team. If I want to send an email to the team, I can grab that team email address and then send that email out for the team to get notified. I can also start a conversation. That conversation starter is really nice. I can mention the team to get everybody's attention here. So there's an email from the team or an email to the team that displays here along with a document that was shared. Here we've got just a conversation that started and then people can reply, they can send emojis back, we can attach files here. So all of those things that we love about the Post tab now are still intact, and then we can use this different messaging capability on these different tabs that we'll see here in Teams. So this is the Post tab, and there's the update of the mini status report here. The Files and Wiki tab, those will work the same way as always. And then now as we start to move over to the right, we'll start to see some of the tabs that we add as part of the Project Online and Teams integration. So first up, we'll see the schedule. When I'm viewing the schedule, I usually like to have a little bit more space, so I'm going to expand this just so that we have room to look at this a little bit more. And what we're seeing here is the schedule that we saw in the browser. So if I'm working on a project and I'm in Teams, I may not want to go over to the browser and make my schedule updates here. What I can do is use the same ribbon options that we used in the browser to edit this schedule here. So I might need to move this over a little bit, but I can see all of those fields that we filled in the browser. And whether I update this here or in the browser makes no difference. Either way, it's stored in Project Online, so I would never have to double enter anything. So you can see all the changes that I made to the schedule in the browser are here. Any changes that I make here are also going to be visible in the browser. And then we can see our tasks and our dependencies on the Gantt chart, just like we're used to in the browser as well. So you can see on the ribbon, I can edit this project. I can go ahead to the task ribbon if I want to, and go ahead and start to mark tasks as complete and that type of thing. So I can manage my schedule here the same way that I would over in the browser. The next thing that we'll look at are the project documents. And in the project documents, we'll see those same documents that we saw on the project site. So with the project site, we can set it up so there's a set list of document templates. And that way, if somebody wants to make updates, they can simply go ahead and edit an item here and open it. And this is great because you can open it in the app. So you can open this in the desktop app. Multiple people can edit a file at the same time. And there's a little placeholder so you can see where the other person is in the document, which is tremendously helpful when we're collaborating on these documents. And then here, this test attachment, this is the one that I uploaded on the project site. The exact same time that I uploaded it on the project site, it was also available here. So that works both ways too. Any updates that I make to the document on the project site will be visible here right away, and the same with any of the edits that I'll make to the document here in Teams. We'll see something similar with the issues log. So when we look at the issues log here, we see those preset issues that were here when the project was created. We'll also see the new issue that I added while we were together on the call. So from here, I can do everything that I would do in the browser. I can go ahead and edit this item. I can add new items. I can change the status of this to closed if I've worked on it and closed it out. So it's really easy if I'm in Teams already to make updates to this team and then also switch around to different teams and make updates for those projects as well. We can see I've got 2 more tabs here. I'm sharing my smallest screen, so that's why we've got the 2 more here. If this were my bigger screen, we would see everything listed along the top. Our risks list is here, and this risks list, we set it up so that it displays the title as the ID number, so that's why we're seeing that here. And then we also want to take a look at the planner tab. There's a lot for us to talk about here, so I'm going to expand this section too. So when we looked at the schedule earlier and we were choosing which tasks we wanted to sync with Teams and Planner, one of the things that we did was we chose a planner bucket for each task, and these buckets are visible here. So based on the bucket I chose, we can see that task that I chose to sync. Another thing that we'll see is that on the schedule, I think I'll go back over to the schedule to kind of show this. On the schedule, there was a column called Separate Planner Tasks, and I chose that for one task that had both me and Erin assigned to it. So in this scenario, what we're seeing is the same task, but with one card for Erin to update, one for me to update. So I'll take a quick look at the schedule again. Just as a reminder here. So these are the tasks that we chose to sync with Teams and Planner. We'll slide that over a little bit. We can see the different buckets that I chose, and then we can see this one task that was separated as well to define preliminary resources. So that all lines up with what we're seeing in Planner here now. So the buckets I mentioned, these are configurable. We see a lot of organizations have different options for the different buckets here, and then we can set those up to match what you need those to look like. A lot of times what I'll see though is that when people come over to Teams and Planner, they might regroup these. So with each of these cards, each of these planner cards, we can open that up and then we can view more details about the task. So we can see the start and finish date. These come from the schedule. I can update progress here as well. I can add notes. Same with checklist items. I think I heard someone unmute. Is there a question? Okay. So right now the default grouping is by bucket. We can always go through and update that. There are several options for how we can view these tasks. One popular way of grouping these is by assigned to. So here we can see the tasks assigned to me and the tasks assigned to Aaron. What we can do is we can walk through in any of these views with these cards. We can mark something as completed just by clicking on the little circle there, or we can open up the card and adjust the progress here. We could also add these different parts here like I did for Aaron's task, and then we can mark those as completed too. Another popular way of grouping these is to group by progress. So this is great for a status call. What you can do here is you can drag and drop these. So it's a little bit more of a fun way to update these tasks. So you can drag and drop to mark something as in progress or completed, or to keep it as not started. There are other grouping options here. If we wanted to group by due date, we can do that. And then there are filter options as well. So sometimes people will group based on when a task is due. We won't have any late tasks because we just created this project a few minutes ago. But if I wanted to see the projects due today or the task due today, I can do that. Also, I can add the task due tomorrow and later on this week, next week, and so on and so forth. I'm going to clear those and scroll down a little bit. We can also filter based on who these are assigned to. Sometimes as a resource assigned to different tasks, I might come here and I don't necessarily want to see everybody else's tasks. This filter allows me to just focus in on my own tasks and then update them as needed. There are also different views here. So right now we're looking at the board view. This is the list view, so I can mark things as completed by clicking on the circle there. I can also see the full card if I want to, just by clicking on the task name. There's the charts view, which has more statistical information about the different tasks in the schedule, but we've also got the cards here, so we could go ahead and mark something as completed this way. And then the last view is the schedule view, which will show us a calendar with our tasks overlaid. The board view is typically the most popular view here. Does anybody have any questions about the planner tasks while we're here?
Mia, we do have one question. Will the owner of a task receive an email when a task is due?
So that is something that is configurable in the Project Online settings. So it's possible that if notifications are turned on, that resources can modify that for themselves and say that they want to be notified when a task is due. They can even specify that to be notified before a task is due, and they can specify how long before. Another set of notifications that'll come out will be the planner notifications. So the planner app, which is basically what we're looking at here, also will send out notifications about these tasks. So as soon as I get assigned to one of these tasks, I'll get a planner notification, and then I can also get one if one of these is overdue. So then at the user level, they can go into the planner app and adjust those notifications.
Great, thanks.
Sure. One of the things that I want to talk about here, and again, we're looking so far at the Project Online project. We're going to switch over to the Project for the Web project in a minute or two. But before I do that, I do want to show one more thing. Right now, I've shown you that I've got these different teams that I'm a part of. I can go to these different teams and I can start to look at the different tasks that I have assigned to me, and I can start to update those tasks. So one thing that you may be wondering about is whether it's possible to see all of these tasks in one location. And what you can do if you're interested in that is you can add the Tasks by Planner and To Do app into Teams. So this is something that I've added here already, but if you don't have it, what you could do is you could click on this More Options menu, and then if you just search for Tasks by Planner and To Do, you'll see the app there to add. I've already got it here, so we'll just take a look. And the benefit of adding this is that now what I can see if I filter this on assigned to me, or if I set this to assigned to me, I can see all of the tasks assigned to me across different projects. So looking at the source column, we can see here the channel that the task is assigned to me from, and then also the project name is listed here. So you can see I've got quite a lot of tasks. Ignore that I've got these overdue tasks, and then I've got, you know, some of the tasks that we just assigned to me here listed as well. So I can filter those down and focus in on a specific project. I can mark tasks as completed from here. I can view task card from here too. So this is one way to see all of your tasks together from these are all based on my planner synced project online projects. And then these will also sync over with your basic general task list. So I can add my own tasks here, and then I can choose if I'm going to view all of the tasks, the ones that I've assigned to myself personally, plus the project tasks. I can view some of the planned tasks. If I have planner tasks that I created based on an Outlook email, which I do pretty often, I can view those here as well. So this is one place to come and get all of your tasks from multiple different locations. So I think that's a pretty interesting option if that works for you. But again, you still will always have this option to go into individual teams. There is one last thing that I do want to show related to the Project Online project, and that is how those updates display in the project schedule. So you'll see we marked some tasks as in progress, and I think at least one task I marked as completed. What you can do on the schedule is you can immediately see those updates by clicking on the Get Planner Updates option. There's an overnight sync that runs that will automatically update the % complete of these projects overnight, but we might not always want to wait until the next day to see those updates. So that's what this button will do. It'll run and sync those updates automatically. So you'll see this little message pops up. What I'll do is I'll refresh my page, and then it'll update the % complete based on the updates that I made to those cards in Teams and Planner. Before we start to look at the project for the web projects, does anybody have any questions about what we've talked about so far?
Mia, we do have a few. Let me just make sure I'm getting the latest one. Can you get dashboard summary metrics on multiple channels within the single team project?
Can you repeat that question?
Can you get dashboard summary metrics?
So are you looking to see information about multiple projects in one channel?
Yes.
There are a couple different ways that you could do that. One also could be if you're collecting those in Power BI. Power BI could be added here so that you could see some of that information at a higher level. And then it might be a combination of filters that you use to focus in on certain projects, but there are different ways to accomplish that, yes. Were there some other questions?
I think, Mia, for the dashboard question, also at the individual team member level, like, can you see all your tasks across projects? And then at the project level, can you see like a dashboard view as well?
Yes. So at the task level, this task by To-Do and Planner would be the best way to see your tasks across all projects. And then, you know, you could filter them as needed if you wanted to. And then at the project level, there are different things that we could embed here to kind of accomplish that as well. All right. Was there another question, or is there more that I should elaborate on for that last question?
I think we're good.
All right. Okay, so we've looked at how Project Online syncs over with Microsoft Teams. Just as a quick reminder, when we created our intake request, we did have that request type field where we could choose if something's going to be a project for the web project or a project online project. So I'm not going to create a new request for the project for the web project. We have maybe 10 minutes left. So what I'll do is I'll show you an existing project for the web project in Microsoft Teams so we can see how that looks. And the look and feel is a little bit different. You can see here I've got 2 project for the web projects. We'll choose one of those to look at. Again, the project for the web project, the project name is also the team name. We're using the general channel here as well. The posts, files, and wiki tab are still there, and the post tab is visible. We can still use it to converse with the team if we need to. What we can do here is also a lot of project management. So looking at the project details part, and I'll just make this smaller a little bit so we can see this again. We've got the project details tab here. We also have a task board. We'll look at project details for a few minutes, and then we'll move over and look at the task board as well. So on the project details section, we've got a lot here. And this is, again, something that's configured by Marquee 360. This is our PPM 360 solution. And what we can do here is we can add in some of the project details, very similar to what we did on the Project Online project. We had those project detail pages, and we were able to enter in the KPI status, and we can identify members of the team here, and we can set this up to have the fields that you need to capture data for. So it's really quick and easy to be able to interact with this project and make updates here. And then you'll see along the top, we've got different tabs here. So we can work our way through these tabs. Again, these tabs are configurable. So the information that's in this demo environment, if it's more than what you need, what we would do is we would just, set this up based on the fields that you actually do need to see. So it's pretty quick and easy to enter these in. Multiple field types, just like what we're used to with Project Online. But in this project, go ahead.
I just have a small question, and is how do you put in a tab of the teams the project details? Is you do it through the link, to the www link, or how do you add it?
Yeah, so the way that we've set this up in this environment, we set it up so that when we're creating that request, and we'll be able to see this in here. Oops. For this request, the way we set it up is that when we have the request type identified as a project for the web project request, I'll try to make this a little bit bigger, then it'll automatically create that project for the web project. And the way that we set up our project for the web projects, we set it up so that that project type will include those different fields that we were looking at in Teams. So
no, I don't mean that. I mean is inside the Teams. If you go back to the Teams. Where you see out there post, files, wiki, project details. How did you do that part? And the project details tab inside the channel.
Yeah, so that's part of what we set up as our project for the web to Teams integration. Part of our solution is set up so that we have this team automatically created, just like what we saw with this webinar project earlier. So this came in through the request, and then it was automatically created as a team as well. And the way that we set up this project, it already includes this project details area, and the task board comes with the project for the web projects. Did that answer your question, or?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Some of what we saw with the Project Online projects was we saw that we were able to update different project artifacts like action items, issues, risks, change requests, and we could display those in Teams. And it's the same with the project for the web projects. So you can see I only have one action item in here, but what we can do is essentially add a new action item for our project for the web project, and then we can save it there. So what we'll do is we'll start to look at those. We can see those different issues and risks and all of those items in this project for the web project. And then what I want to make sure we get to, because we're starting to see that we're a little bit low on time, what we can see is the task board. This will just take a second for me to get signed in. You may recognize this. This is the project homepage. This is typically where you would create a new project for the web project. We created this one through the intake, so we're not going to see this here. But what I'll do here is go ahead and open up this project for the web project. And when we're looking at the task board here, we can see the schedule for this project. We've got a couple of tasks assigned to me. Project for the web is really set up in a nice way when it comes to interacting with tasks. And looking at the schedule here, if anybody's not familiar, there are some differences between Project for the Web and Project Online. But one of the things I can do in here is I can add the different columns that I want. So if I want to add a column for the bucket, similar to what we saw in Project Online, I can do that. And then I can add my finish and start columns if I want those. So I already got the start column here. I can add the finish as well. So I can play with that and customize this on the fly. I've already built out my schedule here, but I could add new tasks if I wanted to. New task singular. And then I could go ahead and make an assignment. And then I can set the start date and the bucket, all of those items. The board view is also here, very similar to the board view that we saw for the Project Online project. Here we've got the kind of default bucket displaying, but then I can also customize my buckets. So I already created a bucket for milestone tasks. I can go ahead and drag and drop these if I want to organize these into a new bucket. All right, and then I can create multiple new buckets and then update my tasks accordingly. The same way that we interacted with these task cards in Teams earlier, we can interact with this task card here and this team as well. And then the timeline view, I want to make sure that we have a chance to look at because there was a question related to this earlier. So this is where we can see that nice dependency view, and we can see our tasks listed up here too. So the dependencies we can go ahead and update if we need to. I've already added in dependencies for a lot of these tasks, but just now added a new one here just so we can see how that looks because that's pretty fun to play with. So we can add in our tasks and dependencies. We can move things if we need to here as well. So we can make all of these fun schedule updates in the timeline here right through the Teams interface. So I expand this a lot just because I like to have a lot of space when I'm dealing with schedules and tasks and things like that. But we're still in this Teams interface, in this Teams area. But through here, we're able to make a lot of different updates to our project, both to the tasks in different locations, the boards here that we have for our different tasks, and then also for our project details, right? So we saw how we can update and maintain and view our issues, our risks, our change requests in the project for the web projects, but then also in the Project Online projects. So we have a little bit of a different user experience for those two different types of projects, but with both of those different types of projects, we're able to interact with them in Microsoft Teams and make all kinds of updates. So without having to go back and forth to different locations, we're able to just move along through different teams and make those updates here. So we have about 5 minutes left for questions. Does anybody have any questions about anything that we've seen today?
Mia, we do have one question that came in. How well does this work with agile tasks?
So this could work pretty well with agile tasks. Are you more interested in the project for the web part or the Project Online part?
I think that came in while you were in project for the web, but I just want to be sure.
Okay.
He said project online.
Okay, there are a number of ways that that could work. One way that it could work and one way that it works with us sometimes with agile tasks, one thing that I didn't really show too much is that there is an option to sync tasks from other software systems like Azure DevOps over into Project Online. And then also what we can do is sync those tasks over into Planner. So the way that we did the Microsoft Teams and Planner integration sync today, we also have a similar option for a lot of places where people tend to manage agile tasks. So if you're not doing that in Project Online, we can still connect with that and bring those tasks over. We would want to talk with you, though, just to make sure that we're mapping everything in a way that would work for your team. And that also could make things available for time tracking and things like that that we didn't necessarily touch on here. If you are using Project Online for your agile tasks, then you could still go ahead and use them to have your tasks here and then update those tasks on the board, which has much more of an agile feel to it. And then if there's any more specific questions you have about the agile tasks, it would be great if we could talk more about that, maybe even after the webinar if you wanted to reach out. We've got a couple minutes left. Does anybody have any additional questions?
Yes, I do have one. And is in this view that you have here, is it possible to hide, let's say, to hide the type of the tab for finance only in the Teams, but in the on the version on the web, let's call it like that, to be able to see the finance?
Yeah, so you would want to see that here in Teams, but not in the web version?
No, vice versa. I don't want for people in the Teams, for all the people that have access to Teams, maybe to know the finance of the project, and maybe a small group to know the finance of the project.
Yes, and we've got a couple of different ways that we handle finances. We also have a financial app that we sync together with projects. Then that could be a really easy way to kind of limit who's seeing what. So that financial app could feed into and interact with Project Online, but not necessarily have the whole project team viewing those items. And then I think what we would want to do is talk with you a little bit more about what financial information you're handling and then talk about the best way to have those separated. But it's possible, yes, to have things that don't show up for everybody.
Excellent, thank you.
And that way you can keep that information confidential.
Thank you.
Is there anything that we talked about that didn't make sense or that we need a little bit of clarification on? All right, we will be available if you have any questions that you want to send in or email and share with us. That would be great.
Thanks, Mia. Thanks, everybody. I know we're up on time, but I just wanted to quickly thank you guys for being here. And I know we only had 45 minutes to get in a lot of information. So I know Deepika put in our emails in the chat window. I also put up a survey. If you guys want to fill that out, that'd be awesome. It lets us know if we're giving, good information and what to put in our upcoming webinars and what you're interested in. But feel free if you guys need more information or you want to do a custom one-on-one demo, feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to do that. Thanks.
Thank you. Great job. Great job.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for the demo. Highly interested.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll definitely reach out.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Mia.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.